says furthermore that people will come from the east, west, and dine where in heaven with the prophets who came before. So as you said,
so he's talking about the Muslims. Carry on. Then the law's taken away by Paul, and then Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes back and restores many of those laws, including the most important one, which was that your God, your Lord, is one. No, that's not what I would walk away with. You're being, look, brother, let's be honest here.
I am.
A person who doesn't know the doctrine will realise that not one tittle, not one dot can be changed.
In Acts, my brother showed you where the disciples made the decision that the people, the Gentiles who come to the religion, have to follow the laws. The only person in all of this narrative who says the opposite is Paul.
In 6 months' time?
About 6 months' time, yes.
Can you give me an indication as to what will happen miraculously in between?
Oh yes, I'm writing a book that collapses the Gospel of Matthew.
Africa, you had the Amazigh, the Berbers, who became actually Jews. You had, for example, Caina. That is one of their queens at the beginning of antiquity. She was a Jew. You had people in Greece. You had people in Turkey. Paul was actually a Turkish Jew. Roman citizen, he was Paul from Tarsus in southern Turkey, all right? So these are people of different nations, but of one belief. So it's a community of belief. So when I say to him, okay, who are the Israelites? I'm talking about a community of belief rather than a nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this community of belief, where did you get this idea from?
I just explained to you.
No. For example, so are you saying to me, Paul of Tarsus had no blood lineage to any of the tribes of the children of Israel?
We cannot.
Because here's the first thing we have to understand. Who are the children of Israel? Who is Israel? Jacob. Yeah? Jacob had how many sons? 12. Yeah? And the 12 tribes of Israel are the Israelites. Judah, Benjamin, Levites, and such, yeah?
Okay.
Right. So the children of Israel are descendants of the tribes of Israel.
Okay.
Now the question is this: if you're saying Paul was a Jew, you're telling me he's from the tribe of Judah?
Not necessarily. As I said before, they were proselytizing.
No, what I'm saying, sorry. There was no such religion as Judaism. You understand that?
There is a belief.
No, there was no such religion.
There is a belief.
No. Today maybe. You may refer to it as that. But in the time, there was no religion called Judaism.
Now let me ask you a question.
No, listen, do you understand that principle?
No, I disagree.
Oh, really?
Let me tell you why.
Show me anywhere in the Old Testament Judaism.
Well, you don't have it, but it's the same with...
No. I'm saying to you, in the Old Testament, where are the children of Israel referred to as a religion of Jews, Judaism? Where is it?
They are not referred to as such.
So God doesn't refer to them as that?
But
One second. Just establish principles as we go. So God doesn't refer to them as... Are you listening? Focus. Thank you. Okay. God doesn't refer to the religion of Moses as Judaism.
Yeah.
God doesn't refer to the religion of Joshua as Judaism. Okay. God doesn't refer to this. Okay. Moses doesn't refer to his religion as Judaism.
All right.
So my question to you is this: why do you believe that this religion of Judaism existed? In the time of Jesus?
Let me ask you this question.
You're going to answer my question with a question?
Yes, in one way. But you'll get what I'm saying right now.
Can I just say one thing before we continue?
Yeah.
Please don't mention Islam. That's all I ask.
No, that's not the topic.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Carry on.
All right, that's not the topic.
Alhamdulillah.
What I'm saying is, you mentioned to me that you mentioned different elders, sent of God, prophets, Moses, Abraham. In fact, they didn't call their religion Judaism, but you just proved to me that they had a religion. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
So that religion...
Would you like to know what that religion was?
Tell me.
Islam.
All right. No, okay. You said we shouldn't mention Islam.
No, but I'm not. No, when I say Islam, listen, let's first understand. Let's first understand one principle here. When I say Islam, I'm not talking about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm not talking about Mecca. I'm not talking about the Quran. I'm talking about the understanding of the word what Islam means. And Islam means what? Submission and surrender to? No. Listen. So what I'm saying to you is this. Because we could talk about these people, but then we can go further back. What was the religion of Noah? No, we can do. The point here is this, you see. There's only one religion, which is submission and surrender to God. And Moses, one second. Moses' religion was submission and surrender to God. That's what you said. They had religion. I agree with you.
All right.
I'm just giving you a term. That's all.
All right. You gave me a term. You said we should mention Islam
in the sense of Quran. That's all.
All right. No, let's.
All right. I won't say Islam.
To the topic.
All right.
Can we stick to the topic?
Okay. Let me just say this then.
Yeah.
The religion of Moses was a submission and surrender to God. I'll say that.
All right. To the great God of Abraham, Jacob.
There's only one God.
Isaac.
There's only one God.
No, that's this specific God.
There's only one God.
No, the Romans will disagree with you.
No, you talk to me though.
The Romans will disagree.
No, you're talking to me. I'm not a Roman.
Yes, I know.
Right, so I only believe in one God. So no need to be specific with God.
We are speaking about a text that happened in the 1st century
right.
AD.
Okay.
Right? So we are in that time frame.
Did the Jews believe in more than one God?
Sorry? They believed in one God. Indeed, I agree with you. So far I agree. My problem is, all right, they had this religion and they were proselytizing around the Mediterranean.
To who?
To the people in the Roman Empire.
You're saying to me that the children of Israel, who you call in the Jews, were preaching to the Gentiles?
Yes.
Can you have some support for that?
I just mentioned to you the people of North Africa. They are Mazik. A lot of them converted during the Roman Empire.
No, I just want
that religion.
I want
Let's
to.
call it
You made a claim that the people who claim to be Jews, or you claim to be Jews, sorry, we're going to use that just so we understand it. All right.
For the sake of
You're saying they were preaching to the Gentile.
Yeah.
Now I'm asking you, what is your source for this claim? That's all I ask.
It's a historical fact. As I mentioned, hold on.
Been said
historical fact. Yeah, hold on. No, we are not there. We are talking about history, right?
That is history.
History tells us that before Islam, people in different parts of the Mediterranean that were not of pure Israelite descent were actually Jews. People in Eastern Europe.
This is different.
No.
It is. You made a claim that the Jews were preaching to the Gentiles.
Yes.
And I want your source.
But I just gave
you didn't.
A historical.
You didn't. You just said it's historical. Okay, which historical record says that the Jews were preaching to the Gentiles?
There are records on that topic. What I can tell you is they went to different parts of the empire, and unfortunately I don't have the records with me.
What were they preaching?
Huh?
What were they preaching?
The same stuff we are talking about.
No, what were they preaching?
The God of Isaac, Jacob.
So they're going to the Gentiles, telling them what?
To convert to, they're actually convincing them that their religion, XYZ, is the right one. And a lot of people, as you said, 1 in 10 people in the Roman Empire were Jews.
You said. I didn't say that, you said that.
Do you disagree with this statement?
No, I didn't say it, you said it. I didn't say it.
All right, no, I say it right now. Do you disagree with this statement?
I couldn't confirm or deny that, I don't know.
You don't know?
What, if 1/10 of the people in the Roman Empire were Jews?
Yes.
I would say no.
Do you have a claim to back this up?
I would say, were the people of Italy Jews? No, I wouldn't say so. See, the Roman Empire was huge.
It was huge, but there were people of different. Let me do this one.
I'm not making the claims here.
Let me do
where Jesus says, "Go and preach to the Gentiles."
I could, if you give me a Bible.
Come on, got a Bible. Got a Bible. Anas, give us a Bible. Which one do you like?
Any.
Oh, no, it matters.
Any of your choice, of your taste.
Which one do you believe is the word of God?
Huh?
Which one do you believe is the word of God?
You don't have it, it's in French.
Huh?
It's in French.
No, I have in English, but do you want the one that has verses missing or the ones with the verses there? I don't know which one.
That's a nice one. No, any.
You're being facetious.
All right.
Why?
Why are you asking that?
Well, I want to know whether he believes.
The guy said, "Give me any Bible."
He doesn't. If he says any Bible, that's indicating he doesn't know the difference.
Oh la la.
Maybe he might. Maybe there isn't a difference.
That's another topic.
But there is a difference.
Let's not go in different topics.
I'll give you the.
I'll give you the one that contains the fabrication.
Okay. So, all right. New Testament. Okay.
Are you going to, I hope you're not going to the Great Commission of Matthew. You are, aren't you?
Hold on. Bit of patience. We'll get there.
What you should do, you should read Acts 10 and to see how Peter reacted when he was told to mix with a Gentile.
Hold on.
That will give you an indication how what the children of Israel thought of the Gentiles.
Let me read my piece. All right, so we have the case of the centurion coming to Jesus. You are familiar with the story, right? So he.
Why would I be familiar with that story? No.
All right, let me read it. It will be long, but a bit of patience, right? Now, when Jesus entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, "Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented." And Jesus said to him, "I will come and heal him." The centurion answered and said, "Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to the other, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, "Assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And I say to you that many will come from the east, west, and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob in the kingdom of heaven." That is one. I'll go to another.
No, stop.
Yeah.
Two problems. Where's that?
Matthew 8.
Right. Why do you believe what that says, first of all?
I'm sorry?
Why do you believe what it says?
Because we make the assumption, okay, that this is his word. Let's make the assumption. Let's not talk about authenticity. Let's make the assumption first.
So you want me to accept that it says that? Okay.
All right. Let's accept this one first.
Okay.
All right.
So you want me to accept he said that? All right. What would you think that was saying?
It was basically saying that faith is not limited only to the children of Israel. That is one.
Why are you saying that?
The person speaking to him is a centurion.
But what about his servant? Is his servant a Roman or a Jew?
But he specifically, let me finish my point, he's specifically saying that that man who is a Gentile,
right,
is actually having a greater belief, community of belief, remember,
right,
than Israelis. And he's saying furthermore,
because the Pharisees are rejecting
let me finish. He says furthermore that people will come from the east, west, and dine where in heaven with the prophets who came before. So as you said,
so he's talking about the Muslims. Carry on.
No, he's talking about the community of belief.
No.
East and west doesn't limit itself. Earth is not. Judea is not limited to South America.
No. So what you're saying, Jesus is prophesying, isn't he?
No, it's not.
Is that not prophecy?
Yeah, it's a prophecy. Okay,
it is. So who's he prophesying about?
Huh?
A people from east to west and whatever.
Yes.
Will be what?
Will be dining.
With who? Abraham,
Jacob,
Isaac,
Jacob in the kingdom of heaven.
Now we Muslims, we believe exactly that. So we don't believe this is a prophecy about Gentiles. This is a prophecy about Muslims, mate.
No, it's
sorry,
it
is.
Thank you
for that. I never knew that.
No. But I
never knew that. I like it.
Actually, it destroys your point in the sense that
it destroys my point.
Yeah, he didn't only come for the children of Israel.
Okay, I'll tell you how it destroys your point. Okay.
No,
he doesn't. First thing, the one he's healing is who?
Sorry, he's a Jew.
Is a Jew.
But
So this idea of him healing somebody, the person he's healing, isn't a Gentile, yeah?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. That's the first point. Whether the Roman believes what he's saying or not, I mean, if you see a man, whether you believe what he says or not, doing miracles, you might believe what he's got to say. Okay, that's the first point.
Yeah, all right.
Then you move on to create this idea that people from north, south, east, west will be sitting with Abraham and Jacob and such, right?
All right.
And then you import your concept that this must be referring to Gentiles.
Well, let's use.
Now, I would disagree.
No, let me.
But what I want to
for the
do, what I
audience-
want to do for you now,
for the audience,
is read a counter argument from Jesus declaring he didn't come for the Gentiles.
Explicit.
Explicit. Yours is ambiguous. Mine's explicit.
No, I can read you another one if you want.
Well, I'll read you one as well. How's that?
All right.
Tip
No,
for
let's
tat.
do it.
What's
Yeah,
all right.
surely, let's do that.
What's the verse?
It's a debate. Doesn't hurt
The
anybody.
bread of the children are fit for the dogs. One sec.
You find that in actually some of.
But can I be honest with you? I personally don't believe that whatever these gospels say is reliable.
All right. No. Let's assume for a second.
I
that
know,
they are.
but that's hurting me because I'm allowing you so much needlessly. Because
We're
my
having
question.
a debate. You're allowing me
No.
air to breathe.
I allowed
lungs
you.
to.
I allowed you.
Yeah,
I allowed
and,
you.
And my mind to speak to you.
But here's the thing.
Matthew
What's your name?
15,
What's your name?
Paul.
Paul. Right, I'm Darren. Right.
Yeah, we met earlier.
I know.
Yeah.
Here's what we've got to understand. You see, this is one reason to talk, but I'm here to help you build your house on stone, not sand. All right?
I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah, oh,
here
okay,
to help you build your house on stone,
say
not
so,
sand.
if you say
No,
so.
no, no. I am saying so. Yeah, I am saying so. All right. If that's the case, I should not allow you a false premise to build your belief on, should I? I should.
No.
I shouldn't. No.
No, you can come with a counter argument.
I should question your belief, shouldn't I?
What he means
Yeah,
by
you
allow
can.
is that he can count.
See, I'm
That's what it
allowing.
is.
Not
Yeah, no,
see,
but
not restrict-
allowing
not
it's like
not
okay.
restrict you from
yeah,
No,
saying
no,
the
no.
father
No, you're
said,
missing the point. No, I'm not. You're not saying nothing else.
All right. Go ahead.
You're
Go
not
ahead.
thinking it. I don't think
What I'm saying is this: look,
Yeah.
for the matters of debate,
Yeah.
I've allowed you, in the sense of I've accepted what you've said from the Gospel of Matthew.
Yeah, fair
All right.
enough,
Now, I'm questioning the fact: did Jesus really say those words? No, I am. It's important. It's important.
All right.
Right? Because for me, I'll be honest with you, if this Bible said, and Jesus declared he is the Son, a third of the Trinity, and the other parts are the Father who tells us all what to do, and the Holy Spirit is the other third part. Now listen, if he said that, it would make no iota difference to me, because my question would be the same. Why do you believe that? Okay. So, I can go tit for tat for you, which I will do initially. What is the verse?
15:21.
All right. Now, I have to say something here as well. In about 6 months' time, this is a prophecy. Christians are going to struggle to use Matthew for anything. Where was it?
15:21.
In 6 months' time.
About 6 months' time. Yes.
Can you give me an indication as to what will happen miraculously in between?
Oh yes, I'm writing a book that collapses the Gospel of Matthew.
All right. People have tried before. Good luck with
What
this.
book is that?
Huh?
What book?
Yeah, people have tried
No.
before. I mean,
Which book has been written? Remind me.
I've not written any. I say people
People have tried.
before.
What book? So they've written a book.
Yeah, I mean atheists have since the 19th century.
No, what do atheists know? Atheists don't know nothing. They're in a worse position than you guys.
If you say
They got nothing to stand on. At least you're trying to stand on something.
I'm listening.
All right,
So
all right,
far,
all right.
I'm listening. I'm not
All right.
countering or anything.
Okay, leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman. Now, a Canaanite woman is what? A Gentile. Okay. From that vicinity came to him crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly.
Yeah.
Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, send her away, for she keeps crying out after us. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. The woman came and knelt before him. Lord, help me, she said. He replied, it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Meaning what? Who are the dogs here?
The dogs would be the Gentiles.
Right. So
And
Jesus-
there's reference of the time for dogs being Gentiles.
So
Yeah.
the Gentile, and Jesus is calling them dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it is, Lord, she said. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith, your request is granted, and her daughter was healed at that moment. Alhamdulillah, no problem with that. The principle here is this. What was his words? I'm not come for you.
Right.
Explicit.
We have that on tape earlier.
And when,
Yeah, hold on.
when the disciples, when Jesus says to the disciples explicitly, go ye not to the Gentile, enter ye not the city of the Samaritan, for I have not been sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Explicit again.
But he sent his apostles.
His apostles out to
Sent his apostles
Now,
out.
can I answer?
Sorry. If you would like to bring in the argument about the Great Commission, you can bring it.
You don't know what you're talking about.
If you'd like to bring in the argument of the Great Commission, you can bring it. I will destroy it as well.
Can I come in? Can I?
You may.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, as we started at the beginning, I asked questions. Who are the Israelites?
Yeah. Forgive me. I wasn't in that initial time.
Okay. And in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, first century Judea, first century Roman Empire, in fact. And I started by saying with the claim that Israel is a community of believers, right? Those
But that's incorrect.
Let's assume that the word of Jesus was right. Let's assume, just for debate's sake, right, that the word of Jesus was right. He was living in that environment, and the Israelites are the community of believers.
No.
Let's
I've got to allow this.
Just for the sake of argument.
You like your
and
sandcastles,
debate.
don't you? Carry on.
Just for the sake of argument. It will not hurt only 5 minutes as long as I talk, and then you will be relieved. Trust me. Now,
So we're using a book of not qualified, first thing, and you're going to explain what that book says. Carry on.
All right. Now, those who believe in
you
him.
can say the same about the Quran.
You can try.
No. They will
try.
deviate, and that's
No,
would
but
be. Yeah, no. Let's
he's rubbishing the Bible.
You can try.
and then
You can try.
using-
Would you like to try?
Let's think what we have.
We invite you.
No, it's just, I mean, he's in
debate.
pain when he listens to that.
completely different
No,
debate.
hold on. He's in pain when he listens to this, so
I'll
I'm trying to
be
reach
honest
the
with you. I'll be
brother.
honest with you.
No,
You're being very condescending.
No, please.
It is what it is.
He's saying the Bible.
Please.
Okay.
All right. Now, let's say those who believed in the series of prophets that were of that religion XYZ until there, right? That period of time. And then came Jesus. Muslims and Christians agree that he's part of the same lineage, right? I'm not talking about his divinity, him being a prophet right at the time.
I can accept.
So, those who believe in him are community of believers, Israel, right? Let's use that name, will actually be saved. That is what he's talking about in the passage that you just mentioned, right? And I read to you in the passage of Matthew that actually those who will be saved will not include only the Jews, but will as well include people who come from the east and the west. Now we'll add another passage, just because you said that it was.
No, wait, sorry. You quoted a passage which showed Jesus healing a Jewish servant, yeah? And you were using this to support your idea that Jesus preached to the Gentiles, yeah? I preached you an explicit passage where Jesus clearly says he didn't come for the children of Israel. Clearly.
The case is closed.
It's explicit.
The case is
No.
closed.
It's explicit. You're doing implicit, giving me implicit verses. I give you explicit verses. You're going for ambiguity, and I'm going for you the explicit point.
So one way of interpreting the verse that you've provided, which is a good verse, is that the Jews who are in the diaspora would come. Do you understand? So it doesn't, because it doesn't specify Gentile. It doesn't specify that in the verse you gave. This could simply be referring to the Jews who are in the diaspora coming forward back to Jesus, essentially because he came for them. Because the 10 of the tribes of Israel were lost. Of the 12, only 2 we know. The 10 were lost. So where were they? They were in the east and the west.
We could say that, but the beginning of the passage had Jesus exclaiming, "Oh well, I have not seen so much faith in the whole of Israel." And he's talking about a centurion who is a Roman, who is a pagan. So that would work, or a person might read it in another way. But let me just look for another one.
He says the same thing to the Canaanite woman, that your faith is great. But he also says to the same woman that I haven't come for you. So the fact that they may have faith, which is great, doesn't mean that he came for them, because he specifically says, I have come only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So I think what the brother is saying is that there's a specific, clear, unambiguous statement, and there is another verse which has multiple interpretations, and you're trying to equate them. But I'll let you carry on.
Let me, while I'm looking.
Go the third of the Trinity, 1 second.
Il y a un verset qui parle de différentes nations aussi, le 24.
What's his name, sorry? Paul. Paul. The other important thing here is
I'll find it for you. Which one?
the signs.
No, he's looking for a verse that speaks about different nations.
No, there is, isn't there? Because there is a reason why you wish that verse to mean what you want it to mean.
Well, it's the same as the brother.
No, not at all. Because you can interpret it in many ways. You've accepted that. The reason why you are interpreting it to mean what you want it to mean is because it fits with your doctrine, your narrative.
He's looking for a verse
So you
speaking
want
about
Jesus
different
to have come
nations.
for you. What you're not doing, brother, is you're not taking an explicit
c'est
verse
ici, le 24.
and accepting that. But you're taking something that you can interpret in many. It could even, like Hamza said, it could be talking about the Muslims.
Sit with Abraham.
With Abraham.
For 600 years.
But it could do. But it could, couldn't it?
And this is talking about heaven.
Yeah, and it's talking about in heaven.
Sorry?
Talking about in heaven.
Yeah, well, who ends up in heaven? Who ends up?
Muslims.
Those who are
not
community.
about
Well,
crystallizing,
community. You call them Muslims. I call them community of believers, right?
No, I call the ones who submit and surrender their will to God Muslims.
Yeah. Well, those who believe in Jesus would be the right type of people, right?
Believe Jesus what?
That Jesus is the Messiah would as well be the right.
Depends whether they equate him to be God.
No,
Muslims
he's
believe
not
Jesus is
talking
the
about
Messiah.
this right now.
No.
He who believes him being the way.
If you're talking about a Christian,
Yeah.
or someone who lived at the time of Jesus, who followed the teachings of Jesus, I'm with you, believers, no problem.
Okay, let's put it.
If you're talking about Christian today,
it's chronologically, those who believe so far from Adam, Abraham till Jesus at that point would be community of believers. Do we agree on this?
yes.
Fine.
But
Very good, sir.
But they won't be children of Israel. We'll carry on. They won't be children of Israel. Because Noah wasn't from the children of Israel, was he?
The debate at the beginning was who are the Israelites?
The Israelites, see, this is what you got to understand. It's not abstract. It's not objective. Who are the Israelites? They are the children of Jacob. They are blood linked to Jacob. It's not what they believe.
It's an ethnicity, isn't it?
It's exactly, it's tribes. They're 12 tribes. And these 12 tribes' father was Jacob.
Est-ce que tu parles du verset 7? Du verset 7?
Can I help you find a verse?
You'd have a laugh with the Hebrew Israelites, man. Oh, wow.
They're funny.
They would love it, innit? They would love this conversation, the Hebrew Israelites. Oh.
No, they make me laugh. I can't lie.
Well, you can't know.
Them and the Mormons.
They have points, the Hebrew Israelites. I have no issue with them. I don't understand how they believe Esau was a white man if Jacob was black, his brother, and his father was black, and Esau was, I don't get that.
But, well, he's talking about the end of times and the destruction of the temple. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come.
Can I stop you?
Now,
can I stop you?
Can I just add one thing before?
The tide's coming in, mate.
I'm sorry?
The tide is coming in. Your sandcastle's about to go.
You sure? I guess what you...
No.
I'll
let you build your house on sand, and I'll let you carry on building your sandcastle.
Can I read them?
But now, the tide is coming in, and it's going to wash your sandcastle away.
No, I don't think so. But
I'm going to show you. I'll tell you why. First thing, you keep quoting the Gospel of Matthew like this, as if this is what happened. Yeah. This is what you're doing. You think because it's in the Gospel of Matthew, it must have happened. Would you agree? That's how you're quoting it.
We're assuming.
You are.
We are assuming in this debate.
Right. No. This is not my belief.
Yeah, it's not your belief, but for the sake
So I'm
of
not assuming.
argument,
You are.
Right.
You're believing it. I'm not talking about for the purpose of this debate now. I'm talking about for your salvation now. Okay. You believe that the author of the Gospel of Matthew wrote down everything as it happened. Do you believe that?
Yes, I do.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being honest. Okay. Do you believe the author of the Gospel of Matthew was an eyewitness to the events that he wrote about?
Matthew was, he was one of the disciples.
Right. Now this is an indication of your confusion. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I'll tell you why. No. Because if you're holding a concept that you believe that Matthew is writing what he sees, if you believe that, your belief is based on what?
That he's the author?
That he's the author.
Authorship at the time, it could be one of
No,
his
forget could. I'm not interested in could, would, or should. All right. You believe the author of Matthew
is right.
Witnessed the events. I'm asking you why you believe that.
No?
I'm asking you why you believe that.
But then we changed debate.
No, what did I say to you? I let you build your house on sand. We did tit for tat. It could mean that, it could mean that. That's fine. Now the tide has come in and we're taking away your sandcastles, yeah? We're going to build our house on stone, mate. Your belief and your salvation should be based on stone, not sand.
You know, it looks like a sandcastle, but it isn't.
I'm going to show you how it is.
Ahead.
Oh, well, let's show you how much of a sandcastle it is. You believe that the author of Matthew was an eyewitness to the events he wrote about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that?
Because these were.
No, we have changed subject now. You're all right.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we have to. Let's get to the nitty gritty.
What I wanted to say is, before we finish this subject, let me.
Okay. Dr. Imran here is going to respond to your verse as well in Matthew.
There's a good verse that you've given. Can I just speak about it? So this is a very interesting verse because when you read what it says, it talks about the times of tribulation, and it talks about the fact that many false prophets will arise up and deceive many, and because of lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. The term lawlessness means without law, anomia in the Greek. And then it says on that he who endures to the end endures in what?
Endures in his belief.
In the law.
In the law.
In the law. He shall be saved. Now, the only person that removed the law is Paul. So when it talks about the false prophets that will arise, they will commit anomia. And this is a reference to the fact that the prophets will come. And there's an example that goes with this in the Revelation. I think it's 2:14, where Jesus is talking in the sort of the dream that's sort of being revealed in Revelations, that there will be people that come and they will be condemned, and Jesus will say to them, because you are like the followers of Balaam, the Balaam, Now,
you know Balaam,
do you know who Balaam is?
Balaam.
I know Baal.
Balaam.
B-A-L. The one that was believed by Canaanites and people in Upper Syria, etc.
So no, he's an Old Testament.
He's an old divinity.
He was a prophet, wasn't it?
He's an Old Testament prophet who then went the wrong way and then was condemned by God.
All right, okay.
So first he was sent. He was somebody who came to the Jews. He came to the Jews.
Yeah.
He was accepted by them and he did sort of signs and things to show them that he was a prophet. But then he went the wrong way and then he's condemned. And then Moses is asked to kill him and his people. And this is where you get the Moses commanding the people to kill all the women and children. Now, what did he do to go the wrong way? What was his mistake?
I don't know.
He changed the law. He changed the law. And then in Revelations, Jesus says the same. We'll find the verse in a moment.
Yeah.
That these people, that the people at the end who will be rejected because they became followers of Balaam, they followed somebody who changed the law. The only person that fits, putting all your verses together, this verse talking about the false prophets and there will be lawlessness, the story of Balaam and Revelations, the only person that changed the law for Christians is Paul.
No,
so I understand you disagree, but putting everything together and combining the message, for me as someone reading into the text, this is what I see. That what is being told here is that it's because of lawlessness, lack of the law, that you're going to become devoid of love and cold.
All right. Now, you mentioned this passage because we have two things. We have we have on the one side.
Oh no, I'm just looking for it.
The law being changed and us deviating. and the authenticity of Matthew.
Oh yes, no.
Yeah, so we have actually two things.
No.
Right,
I don't
now.
mind. If you want to address what Dr. Imran said, please do fill that before the tide comes. Tide is held up.
No, it's not the tide.
It's sort of like lapping at the castle, isn't it?
You have to create another debate for that to happen. Instead of staying in the topic.
No, we're in the topic.
I just wanted to give you the verse from Revelations because I didn't give it to you specifically. So this is Revelations 2 verse 14. And this is red writing, so this is allegedly Jesus speaking, and it says, "But I have a few things against you, because you have there those who hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed to idols and to commit sexual immorality." So what Jesus apparently here in Revelations, this is the end times, is saying is that there are people amongst you who I'm rejecting, and the reason is because they follow the doctrine of Balaam. And what Balaam did was he nullified the law. And specifically is being mentioned, what specific laws are mentioned? The food laws. So what's mentioned here is because you eat things sacrificed to idols, and also sexual immorality is mentioned as well. But these are the laws, the kosher laws, essentially the food laws that were given.
Which one?
This is Revelations 2:14.
Can you mention a couple of food laws?
So not to eat dead animals.
Is it over here?
Yeah, you can. You know the food laws, don't you?
No. Hold on. Is it mentioned?
So one of
specifically
them
which
is
ones?
mentioned here. So not to eat. To eat things sacrificed to idols. So that's
Alright.
one thing.
Okay.
Subject coming on.
But where's the rest?
And so this is what it's a reference to.
Yeah,
so when
okay.
it says,
sacrifice to idols,
Yeah.
that's,
So do
I
you-
mean, we can all agree on this.
so you
Oh,
don't
you agree
eat,
with that?
You don't eat things sacrificed to idols. Just so that I know.
No, I don't.
You don't.
So you don't believe Jesus made all food clean?
Sorry?
You don't believe Jesus made all food clean?
That's your topic.
As I said, it's a new subject coming on.
Sure.
If Jesus made all food clean or not?
Oh,
Did Jesus make all food clean?
Jesus, in principle, well, the food, there's no problem with it. No,
So you can eat any animal,
more or less, yeah.
even if it's sacrificed to an animal, to an idol.
No, if it's sacrificed to an idol, that's another gesture.
Oh, all right. So it's not all clean then. There are
Sorry?
things that, so there are
No,
animal
what?
food you can-
Okay, by nature, here's the thing. There's two things that you mention here. There's a gesture, taking an animal that already exists and putting it in front of an idol. But the animal exists in nature, right? So whatever animal is.
No, I didn't say that. I said when you get a slab of meat on your plate,
Yeah,
does it matter if it was sacrificed to an idol or not?
it does.
It does matter.
Yeah.
So all food is not clean.
You say meat. You said in the video you talked about meat from different animals. Is the meat from any animal?
I'm asking a
Unclean.
simple question.
Yeah.
First question was
Yeah.
what? Did Jesus make all food clean? And if all,
All right, okay.
See the word all.
Okay.
Word all means
All right.
all,
Okay, I understand.
everything.
Because there you were being a bit more precise. In that sense.
I didn't change anything.
No. Yeah. No. Well, if you don't put that detail of, I meant in the sense of animals. All right. Can we eat any animal? Yes, we can. Can we eat animals that was sacrificed to idols? No, we can't.
So you're saying to me, if a slab of meat comes on your plate,
Yeah.
there is conditions where you can't eat it.
Yes. In such conditions we can.
So all food is not clean then.
Yeah. In that sense, no.
So Jesus didn't declare all food clean.
Hold on. There you are playing with words.
Basically,
You are- no.
the physical animal is clean.
The physical animal. Yeah.
All right, let me turn the screw a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Let me turn the screw a little bit. Can you eat a McDonald's Big Mac?
If it's not sacrificed to an idol that I don't know of, yeah.
Okay, what if it hasn't had its throat cut and the blood drained?
I'm sorry.
What if it hasn't been killed kosher or halal? Can you eat it?
I could still eat it.
Are you sure? You want to phone a friend? Final answer?
No, I'll leave the option open. I'll listen to what you have to say.
No. Because here's the thing, you see,
Yeah.
Paul. First thing, you made a claim
Yeah.
earlier about Matthew being an eyewitness. All right. Now, for me, I know that's false. All right, and I'll show you how. Okay. Now, you believe you can eat food that hasn't been eaten as sacrificed. Sorry, hasn't been had its throat cut and the blood drained. Yeah?
So you cut the guys in the vein.
Alright. That belief is also false. According to the disciples of Jesus.
Same as the kosher method.
Where is that verse?
Alright. If I show you the verse, alright, will you accept the verse?
Is it in the New Testament?
We don't do anything to the animal. What we do is we cut the guys in the vein.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. And let me understand, and here's what you got to understand, you see. Because you might say to me, oh, who cares whether it's just food, this, that, yeah? But you know what the ramifications of this is?
The way it was killed?
No. Paul is a false prophet.
It's got to be clear before you touch it.
Because according to Leviticus,
Go ahead.
You like that, don't you?
You would need to show me one,
Yeah.
what the apostles have written, and you would need to show me what Paul has written specifically.
All right.
I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
Maybe I'm new. I'm learning something new.
First we have to understand, who has authority, the disciples of Jesus or Paul?
Disciples of Jesus.
They have the more authority.
If it comes from Jesus. If it comes from Jesus.
What do you mean?
If it comes from Jesus.
Well, the disciples of Jesus will walk with Jesus, isn't it? They know what Jesus said and did.
Well, it depends, because they did a couple of things that weren't that holy after all. But well, let's go ahead and let's examine what you have to say.
Sorry, the disciples of Jesus,
Yeah.
after being convicted with the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
did what that was unholy?
No, in the past they did things that were not correct.
No, you just said that.
until he's dead.
Up until his death.
Yeah,
All right. So these disciples were speaking at the Council of Jerusalem,
yeah.
convened afterwards.
All right. What did they say?
So what they said this. Basically, what was happening? Paul
yeah,
was preaching to the Gentiles. Yeah. You don't need to be circumcised.
okay.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about the dietary laws. Eat what you like.
All right.
Okay. Don't worry about the law. Okay. When the disciples of Jesus heard this, they summoned Paul to Jerusalem. Right? They summoned Paul to Jerusalem
Yeah,
and questioned him. We hear you're teaching such and such a thing.
yeah.
Paul basically denied it. And what the point was this: what do we do with Gentiles becoming Christians, coming to follow Jesus?
That was the question
So,
at the time. Yeah.
so what we do know, the Gentiles weren't becoming Jews until this point. So this actually goes back to the original point. Anyway, what do we do with them? So a council was convened. Do you want me to read it from the Bible so you know I'm not making
No,
this
go
up?
ahead. Oh, which one is it?
This is in Acts 15.
Okay.
Okay. I'll read from Acts 5. Are you in a hurry?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You have time.
No, we
I
have
don't want
time.
to use
We
time
have
as an
time.
excuse.
We have time.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so I'll read from Acts 15:12.
Yeah.
Then all the multitude kept silent and listened to Barnabas and Paul declaring how many miracles and wonders God had worked among them to the Gentiles. And after they had become silent, James answered, saying, you know who James is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who? Head of the church.
Yeah.
Okay. Saying, men and brethren, listen to me. Simon, this is Peter, has declared how God at the first visited the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. And with this the words and the prophets agree, just as is written. Okay. Known to God from eternity are all his works. Therefore I judge that we should not trouble those from among the Gentiles who are turning to God, but that we write them to abstain from things polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moses has throughout many generations those who preach in every city being read in the synagogues every Sabbath. Then it pleased the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, who was also named Barabbas, and Silas, leading men among the brethren, that they wrote this letter by them. Now, just a little caveat here.
James send people with Paul and Barnabas? Something to ask ourselves.
Sorry?
Why did James
Yeah.
feel the need to send people with Paul and Barnabas to confirm this?
I don't know. That part, I'm not familiar. I know that there were disputes at the time.
Okay, alhamdulillah. It means basically...
That's a big thing that she's saying.
Yeah. So basically, James didn't trust Paul and Barnabas. All right. And also, the people were told don't accept anything unless it's come from James of Jerusalem.
All right.
So basically, when Paul came with this thing, the men sent by James confirmed Paul and Barnabas. So they needed confirmation. All right. Anyway. Okay. So this is the letter written to the apostles, the elders, and the brethren. To the brethren who are of the Gentiles in Antioch, Syria, and Cilicia. You. All right. Since we have heard that some of who went out from us have troubled you with words unsettling your souls, saying you must be circumcised and keep the law, to whom we gave no such commandment. It seemed good to us, being assembled with one accord, to send chosen men to you with our beloved Barnabas and Paul, who have risked their lives for the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. We therefore sent Judas and Silas, who will also report the same things by word of mouth. For it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and for us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things, that you abstain from things offered to idols, from blood, from things strangled, and from sexual immorality. If you keep yourself from these, you will do well. So what is it? The disciples of Jesus, who walked and talked with Jesus and sat with him and ate with him, they convened a council to determine what to do with you, Paul, when you decided to follow Jesus. And the declaration was made. It was necessary for you to abstain from the blood of animals. Necessary. Paul preached it wasn't necessary. So whatever is preaching to Paul, remember one thing, Paul had revelation for 10 years. 10 years. Not just on the road to Damascus. For 10 years, something was preaching to him. And we see it doesn't marry up with what the disciples were teaching and preaching. So this calls into question what was revealing itself to Paul. That seemed to go against the disciples of Jesus. Not only that, as my brother Imran said, there is someone doing what Balaam did. And Balaam changed the food laws. Yeah? So Paul was preaching against the food laws.
What exactly did he say? You mentioned strangulation.
Blood.
Blood.
What's blood?
I'm sorry?
What's blood?
Basically, cooking something with blood or drinking blood,
Meaning, life is in the blood, isn't it, according to God? Life is in the blood, yes?
All right, yeah.
Right. So when you kill an animal, you need to cut its throat, let the heart pump the blood out. This is why this is kosher meat.
What kosher meat? Okay.
Right. Now, how did the councils come to this decision? This is the question. How did the disciples come to this decision?
May I ask, what was Paul's response?
Paul was told to go and take a vow and to shave his head, take the Nazarite vow, and offer a burnt sacrifice, a burnt offering for what he'd been doing. And he did.
This is an act.
All right, okay. Now,
so Paul was summoned to Jerusalem, told, we've heard you've been doing this. To show you're not doing this, go and sacrifice an animal, shave your head, and take the vow.
All right.
And he did.
But
do you understand one thing?
Yeah,
the disciples of Jesus told you, as a Gentile follower of Christianity, of Jesus, you can't eat the blood of an animal.
No.
Now my question to you is this: why do you ignore this?
Hold on. My question to you is: has there been a change? Has there been a change?
Who can overrule
between
a change?
The Council of Jerusalem.
All right.
And
who?
And the end of the Old Testament. Has there been a change?
Say it again, sorry?
Has there been a change in that regard?
What do you mean?
Has there been a change of opinion in that regard?
All right. Did the disciples of Jesus change that law, you mean? No.
That specific one.
Unless you believe that the church fathers can overrule the disciples of Jesus.
What I'm saying to you, and let me read the passage concerning not changing the law. Jesus specifically talking. Can I mention that? Now you know the passage?
So I have not come to change the law.
Yeah,
but
do you know what?
Yeah. I don't know if Matthew was all that I'll find it for you. I have not come to change the law but to fulfill.
You know what? 6 months' time, trust me, Matthew's gone. 6 months' time, inshallah. You're not going to quote Matthew. I'm serious.
I'll find it for you.
It's a huge claim. And you also won't be able to claim Holy Spirit inspiration either. Brother, you know the important thing here is that it's not about
Sorry, I'm
cornering
being a bit rough with you guys. Forgive me.
or
You're nice
embarrassing
guys.
people.
I should be gentler. I should be gentler.
It's not about embarrassing you or to corner you.
No.
But brother, what you need to think about though is that you have all these laws. All right. Then the laws are taken away, and then the laws come back again.
Sorry?
So you have all these laws for hundreds of years, thousands of years. Then you have somebody called Paul who takes the laws away. And then you have Muhammad, peace be upon him, who once again corrects that and restores most of those, or many of those laws again. So the question, brother, that you need to ask yourself this. If Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a false prophet, why would he introduce so many of those laws that Abraham made sure that the people followed, or that Jesus made sure that the people followed? You see my point? No, but you have to look at things overall as well. Otherwise, we can get bogged down. No, you can get bogged down in the detail. But when you look at the overall picture, you have a law of Abraham, law of Moses, law of Jesus, peace be upon him. Their direct words are that you have to stick to the law, you have to stick to the law, you have to stick to the law. Then the law is taken away by Paul. And then Muhammad ﷺ comes back and restores many of those laws, including the most important one, which was that your God, your Lord is one, ahad, one, no partners.
And I will say Christians don't destroy the law, but that's another debate. Let me read it just aloud.
Oh, you give it to me.
Do not think that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Assuredly, I say to you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one title will by no means pass from the law till all is fulfilled. And I insist on this, till all is fulfilled. Now what is being fulfilled? That is the word according to Isaiah. And the word.
No, hold on. Finish that verse. Finish the verse, the next verse. Read the next verse.
All right. Whoever therefore breaks one of these, the least.
Say it a bit louder, please, so the camera can hear it.
Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches man, so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be great in the kingdom of heaven.
For I say unto you,
Continue.
For I say unto you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven.
So now from that, brother, let's be honest. Let's say a person doesn't know the doctrine of the Trinity and everything else.
Yeah.
What are they going to walk away with believing when they read those verses?
Can I tell you how I see?
Without the doctrine of Christianity. Just if I was as a layman, I read that, what would I walk away feeling?
I would walk away feeling that a law shouldn't be changed until a word is being fulfilled.
No, that's not what I would walk away with. You're being, look, brother, let's be honest here.
I am.
A person who doesn't know the doctrine will realize that not one tittle, not one dot can be changed.
Anyone who breaks the least of these commandments.
Even if you preach the same, that means if you tell people not to practice these laws, you will be known as the least in the kingdom of heaven.
All right.
So even if you tell people, oh, you can eat pork, you can, you don't have to be circumcised. That's what it's telling you, brother.
All right. Okay.
Now, the important thing here, brother, is this: without the doctrine, that is very explicit. Don't change the law. Don't disregard the law. and that you have to follow even the tittle, the dot of the law.
Okay,
You understand my point, brother?
I understand, my Lord. But since you mentioned somebody who is unaware of Christian theology,
Right.
I would ask the person who gave me this passage, now explain to me. He said, okay, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle will by no means pass from the law, but till it is fulfilled.
Doesn't say till it's fulfilled. Does it? What's the exact words there?
Till it all is
fulfilled. Right.
Yeah. What is all? What should
What
be
do you think is
fulfilled?
being said? What do you think is being said?
I think that it refers to what the Messiah was meant to do,
Why do you think that?
because he's the last Messiah.
What's that got to do with laws?
Where does it say
Well,
the last Messiah?
Yeah, where's
He's
it
the
at?
last Messiah. In the books, chronologically, we started.
So
with-
what needs to be
Right,
so what needs to be fulfilled?
the word
Who's a comforter?
as the prophet, the Messiah, and as well.
So when is that fulfillment?
um,
When is that fulfillment?
Everything in the Bible, in the latter part of the Bible,
So when is the
book
fulfillment?
of the prophets points to the arrival of the Messiah.
When is the fulfillment?
Well, the Messiah has accomplished his mission.
So when did the Messiah accomplish his mission?
When he accomplishes what Isaiah and Daniel specifically say about him.
Right. So what you're saying is this: when Jesus came and apparently died on the cross, whatever, then the law's gone. That's your claim.
I would ask, as a person, you ask me,
But if
as a
that's
layman.
Right. But if that's the case, why did the disciples of Jesus not agree with you?
I tell you, can I say one other thing?
Yeah, go on.
Very good question, but to emphasize further,
No, we can hear us.
to emphasize further,
Yeah,
in the same statement
Yeah.
that you read about where Jesus says that I have not come to destroy the law,
Yeah.
he says until the heaven and earth pass away, nothing will change from the law until all is fulfilled. For me, I don't know what your different views are. For me, reading this, it's talking about the end of times, and I'll give you evidence in the same speech. So if you read on, so that was Matthew 5 we were reading before. Sorry, Matthew 4. But if you go to the end of Matthew 7, so this is the same speech as ongoing. It's all read, nothing has changed. So Matthew 7, and it says, let me just find this. So now Jesus is talking about now the end times. He says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Verse 22, many will say to me that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? 23, then I will declare to them. So these are people who say we're Christians, we've done all of these things. So what is the response? Then I will declare to them, I never knew you, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness.
What exactly was the main law that God talked about?
So this is what it says. So this is what I'm saying. So now I'm putting a few verses together now.
You're putting it together.
So Jesus is saying that at the end of time, when people come to him and call him Lord, Lord, he will say, get away from you, you workers of lawlessness, you people who didn't follow the law. In Revelations, Jesus says to the people in chapter 2, verse 14, that there are people amongst you who follow the doctrine of Balaam. And what did Balaam do? He changed the laws. In Acts, my brother showed you where the disciples made the decision that the people, the Gentiles who come to the religion, have to follow the laws. The only person in all of this narrative who says the opposite is Paul. Jesus says it many times in Matthew, in Revelations. James makes the ruling in the Council of Jerusalem in Acts, and the only person that goes against that, which most people follow actually, I have to say, is Paul. The question is why, really?
Okay. My understanding, at one point, Jesus was asked, what is the main thing? And I think, I'm not sure who asked it.
The rich man.
To get to the kingdom of heaven, what do we have to do? And his answer, maybe you can give it.
Follow the law.
Obey the commandments.
Obey the commands.
And
And then he says, I do that. And he says, then go away and give away your possessions.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't do that. And then Jesus says, it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for a camel path to either of you. So the point here is this. All that proves is this. What you just proven now is that if the only way to enter heaven was to believe Jesus come to die for your sins, why didn't Jesus tell him that?
Didn't he say that one of the laws to maintain, the main law, would be to believe that we have a God?
No, he didn't say that. He said, keep the commandments. And he says, I do that. Then he said, go away, go sell all your possessions, give all your possessions away and follow me. And he said that I cannot do that. So what I'm saying is this. So listen. So if Jesus' mission was to come and die for the sins of the world, and this was his ideal opportunity to let everyone know, the guys come to him now, what do I need to gain everlasting life? Just believe I died for your sins, my son. That's all he needed to say. But he didn't. No, he didn't. So what I'm saying is, so the criteria to attain everlasting life had nothing to do with believing Jesus died for your sins.
Well,
according to Jesus.
Here's the thing, and that ties actually with what we read just now. The word being fulfilled in one way.
Right. So you said fulfilled. You said fulfilled. Ended with Jesus leaving this earth. Yes.
Sorry?
You claimed that the word fulfilled means the time when Jesus left this world, yes?
Yes, if he accomplished what was in the Old Testament.
If you believe his mission was that.
What is in the Old Testament?
No, here's your problem. Let me explain your big problem.
Yeah.
You keep going to the Old Testament like it supports you. All right. The Jews don't believe it supports you. Let's put it that way. All right. Anyway. Okay. You know I said I'm going to break the back of the Gospel of Matthew, right? In 6 months' time, inshallah. All right. The reason I'm saying this, because I'm going to prove that the author of the Gospel of Matthew was a liar, right? And I'm going to show you how he manipulated the Old Testament to make self-fulfilling prophecy. So every time you see something in the Gospel of Matthew, it seems to match up with something that was said in Isaiah or somewhere else, or in Psalms or whatever. This is what we call deliberate manipulation of the text. Saying things that were not said, but trying to marry it up to appeal to who? A Jewish audience. Why? Because the Gospel of Matthew was for a Jewish audience. Right. So to appeal to a Jewish audience, you need to make Jesus' mission marry up with the Old Testament. And it's deliberate manipulation. And I'm going to provide evidence to that fact. All right. Anyway, can I know this tit for tat, verse for verse, this means that means is one thing. I'm going to ask you the question again. Sorry. I like you, Paul. I like you too, man.
Very nice guys.
You're nice guys.
No, you're very nice guys.
You're reasonable Christians and I love engaging with you boys.
Nice to talk to you, really. Very nice.
And I apologise if I come across a little bit harsh and flappy. I'm just so used. No, but I don't need to be aggressive with you boys. You're nice guys.
You were not. You were not.
Thank you.
It's a debate.
Thank you. Why do you believe Matthew was an eyewitness?
I believe he was because it is the word that was as told and believed by the disciples at the time. I don't know if I mentioned that at the beginning, but
No. Let me ask you the question again.
Yeah.
Why do you believe Matthew was an eyewitness to what he wrote?
Well, because he's been told that.
No.
He's been told.
No one's been told that. No one why he believes it.
He was one of the disciples, right?
No, there was a disciple named Matthew. Continue.
Yeah. All right. Okay. He was, and the disciples didn't disappear once Jesus died. We just read about what happened after Jesus dying, them meeting up in Jerusalem.
Right.
The faith continued.
Right.
And there was a faith that was described by authors outside of the Bible that describes a group of people that, well, at the beginning, they called people of the way. I mean, I'm not sure how historians, they were called people of the way, right? And these types of people are the ones who talked about Jesus. And that's why I believe, since they were all there and read as well this, and nobody had anything to say against Matthew.
Now that's where you're wrong.
All right, can you prove
First
that?
thing, does the author of Matthew say who his name is?
No, it was anonymous.
Oh, it was anonymous?
Yeah.
So how do you know an anonymous writer was an eyewitness?
I'm sorry?
How do you know an anonymous writer is an eyewitness?
I wouldn't know if the text was just presented to me in front of me without any further evidence. But I would say so if, for example, the group of people that followed this man agreed all upon what you see. What you are claiming here, that people are disagreeing. Can you bring me a writing of another disciple of Jesus that contradicts all of that?
Yes, I can.
An easy one.
Yeah, an easy one. Gospel of Mark, the first gospel. When he says this adulterous nation asks for a sign.
I'm sorry?
The sign of Jonah, yes?
Yeah, you mentioned it a while back, I think. Yeah.
All right, I'll make it easy. Jesus says in the Gospel of Mark, this adulterous nation asks for a sign. No sign shall be given to them. And then Jesus releases and walks away. Right? In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus says this adulterous nation asks for a sign. No sign will be given but the sign of Jonah. And the queen of the south will bear witness and testify against them, because she bear witness for Solomon, and one greater than Solomon is here. And the Ninevites will bear witness against this generation, because they bore witness to Jonah, and one greater than Jonah is here. All right. The Gospel of Matthew. No sign shall be given but the sign of Jonah. So the Son of Man, so as Jonah was in the belly of the earth for 3 days, 3 nights, so the Son of Man shall be in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. All right. So we have 3 accounts of the same incident. Okay? We have 2 accounts where Jesus is not given any indication of rising in 3 days. All right? We have an account in Matthew where Jesus is rising in 3 days. We look at the actions of the disciples after the apparent resurrection, and none of them were expecting a 3-day resurrection. So this is an indication that maybe the Gospel of Matthew has been embellished, right? Just an indication. Then Matthew talks about what of the crucifixion, the dead rising from the earth. Well, you don't pull your face. This is a eyewitness testimony.
All right. Okay. No. I'm not talking about disputing that.
No. Don't dispute it.
What I'm saying is.
Okay. So you believe. So let's just clarify. You believe. At the time of the crucifixion, when Jesus cried his last, the earth went dark. There was earthquakes. The tombs opened up. The dead rose from their graves and entered into the city, and many people saw them.
I believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do Mark not say this, Luke not say this, John not say this, or anybody outside the Gospel of Matthew say this?
Well, they were talking about different things.
No. We're talking about the dead.
Yes.
Rising from their graves, entering the towns.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is nobody talking? Why are the Roman historians not talking about this? Why is Irenaeus not talking about this? Why is Tacitus not talking about this? Why is Josephus not talking about this? Why is there no historians talking about the dead rising from the grave?
All right. Let me give you another example as to why it might not have been recorded. Can I give you one?
Yes.
The Vesuv. Explosion of the Vesuv.
What?
Vesuv. It's in Sicily.
You're throwing... In Sicily?
Historical event.
This is a historical event. All right.
Vesuv. Volcano eruption.
Oh,
the whole
Vesuvius.
City.
Vesuvius. Yes.
That's
I'm aware. Yeah.
French.
Okay. I'm with you.
Vesuvius. The whole city.
Pompeii. Yeah.
Pompeii. Under ashes.
Yes.
Now we have seen when you go there, you see the
bodies and everything.
Yeah.
The possibility of destruction.
Okay.
You see,
Yep,
you would assume that a lot of Romans would have written about this. I mean, there's the whole town disappearing. Right?
How do you know about it?
It's actually because one person has written about it.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and it was actually.
Which person wrote about it?
I don't remember the person.
See, here's what you got to say to me.
No, but here's what my point. My point is actually.
No, I'm going to tell you why your analogy fails.
An event.
I'm going to tell you why your analogy fails.
Now, can I finish? Just before you'll make your point. An event of such scale would have made the news everywhere, but not everyone at the time could write.
Okay, fine. No problem.
Fair enough. Not everyone could write.
Okay.
And it's just one person in a letter mentioning it, and otherwise, if we hadn't discovered this letter and hadn't discovered the ruins, we would never know about this.
Right.
So does it make what this person write wrong or right?
No. I'll tell you the problem you've got.
They're two different ones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm going to. You're going to be more nuanced than I. But I'm going to go back to this, right? You're correct. If one man wrote about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now your analogy will stand if there was a historian of the time who was around writing about things that occurred in that area, but didn't write that. Your analogy would stand.
Yeah.
So you can give me the name of the historian who wrote this letter, and any of his contemporaries who didn't.
No, it wasn't a historian. It wasn't even a
Just someone wrote a letter.
A lay person.
All right. Here's your problem.
Yeah.
Do you believe Mark was an eyewitness to what he saw?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Oh my God, this is getting so...
He's very good, actually.
No, he's honest, but what I'm saying is the problem he's got now is that Matthew took 70% of his work from Mark. So now I'm confused.
Are you sure?
Yes. This is not me, this is biblical scholars, not me.
They
Don't shoot the messenger.
Okay. They assume that...
No, don't assume it. It's verbatim.
Okay, now, what they are saying, what I've understood, I'm not... To be honest, I'm not a scholar. I'm reading bits and pieces. I haven't read a lot of books, right? I might be wrong, but what I understand is because it is the shortest, therefore it should be the first.
No.
Was that the argument?
No. The argument is this. Because 70% of Matthew and Luke are both found verbatim in the Gospel of Mark, and the timeline of the Gospel of Mark was written just after Paul died, and then 10 years later Matthew and Luke.
People, so when would you date this? Matthew
would have been about 60 something, 62, 63.
Anyway.
And then 10 years later was Mark was 62, 63, and then Matthew and Luke came 10 years later, and then John came 30 years later.
Can I put an objection to Matthew being
10 years later? Matthew being before?
Yeah.
When's your claim?
Matthew was written by Jews.
Written by Jews?
No, written for Jews. I'm missing.
Right.
Written for Jews, right?
Right.
Now.
With what intention?
Sorry, to convert them.
Right.
Yeah, to convert them. Fair enough. But as a historical buff, I know that during the siege of Jerusalem, most of the population was decimated.
Right.
People had left.
Right.
So who was he trying to convert?
The Jews.
Who?
Because they've dispersed.
You've got to understand.
Yeah.
Look, this religion of Jesus was Jewish based.
It was Jewish based.
The church wanted to usurp it, and Paul wanted to usurp it from this base. Paul had a problem with the disciples because they were preaching against what he was preaching.
You know what? Honestly, I still have to look in
No,
on that
please
bit.
do that. Please do
I'll
that.
do.
But what I'm saying to you is that you can see that Paul's writing saying there's another gospel being preached. Must be Maghrib time. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go pray now anyway. We're going to wrap it up, yeah? Paul, man.
Brother Paul, one question at the end.
Can I take your contact details if you don't mind? Are you boys local?
Yeah, we live in South London.
Are you here every week?
I'm here every week. You can catch up with me, etc.
I just came to see what it's like.
Brother Paul, one question to you.
I want to hear your
what stops you from accepting Islam? Because it answers all
Yeah,
of
I
these
have a
questions
separate
for you.
question.
All of these problems that you have, if you become Muslim, all of this is solved. Problem's gone.
No.
Do I need to-
There's no confusion.
No, there is a lot.
There's no confusion.
I'm sorry,
There's
there
no
is.
problem.
There is.
You go back to the teachings of Abraham. You go back to the teachings of Moses. You go back to the authentic teachings of Jesus by becoming a Muslim. But all of these complications for you, it's all resolved.
It's not complication. I think that Muslims have more complications than we do.
Like what, brother?
That's a no.
What's your personal objection?
Like what objection?
Well, the first one, the obvious one, as for the person who received the revelation, how he received the revelation, him being, let's say I know that will be another topic, huge one, the seed of Isaac, not being of the seed of Isaac, being of the seed of Ishmael. That is one. And the way he received the revelation just tells me there is something that is wrong.
Like what, brother?
There's another topic now.
Yeah, it's a whole
other topic.
Whole other topic, that's why I
So there's
said
no objection with the monotheism of Islam?
at first no, but go ahead.
Do you disagree that there should be somebody else who's going to come after Jesus? Do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I disagree.
Okay. So that's one objection. Is there anybody else to come after Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to end it? Or?
There's a moment of time. Okay, we're
I know, but do we need to do an ending or not?
So I think we won't. There's another big topic.
Maybe next week we can.
But all I would say
discuss
to you
these
is, are there any Old Testament prophets who are not Israelites?
I'm sorry?
Are there any Old Testament prophets who are not Israelites?
I've not discovered one, but
have a look at that, and I'll give you a next time we meet.
mention one?
I want to give you the verse.
Because
I don't want to just say them.
See, if you think the criteria to be a prophet has to be Israelite,
no.
stand on that. We don't mind.
Isaac.
Well, you just claimed that.
Oh, Isaac. Yeah.
Because you had an objection to Muhammad because he was an Ishmaelite.
All right.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so we'll meet next time.
Yeah.
I want you to look for that, and then we'll.
I'm just going to butcher the conversation now. You don't mind, dear. I'm just going to hatchet job you, yeah? I want to job
It was a pleasure talking to you. Huh?
Paul, beautiful man. Honestly, such a pleasure, man. No, seriously. What's your name, man? Chris. Very nice to meet you, Chris. Yeah. But listen, please reflect on what we've said.
Surely.
Listen, go to EFDawah, watch the video, and look at the key points I made. Go to the thing about Paul, about the food laws. Go to the Council of Jerusalem. Ask yourself, how did the church fathers overrule the disciples of Jesus on this matter? Because this is what you've allowed. And remember one thing, who did the church fathers take their works from? Paul, not you.
Did you ask him whether Muhammad?
Quick finish.
He was a prophet.
Beautiful talk with Paul and Chris there. This is how Christians should behave. This is beautiful. Okay, we spoke about a few things. We spoke about the Paul and about the food laws. We questioned the Matthew verses where he tried to claim that the Jews before Jesus were preaching to the Gentiles, which is nonsense. He had got no basis to stand on that. We quoted some verses showing how Jesus was explicit that he didn't come to the Gentiles. I implied that the Gospel of Matthew can't be relied upon anyway. We showed the Council of Jerusalem and how the Christians should adhere to that. Why don't they? Who overruled the disciples of Jesus? The church fathers overruled the disciples of Jesus. Think about this. The men who walk and talk with Jesus, men who never met Jesus, overruled them. And where did these men get their information from? It's that man again, Paul. So inshallah, reflect on what we've said, challenge what we've said. Christians, we know you're watching. Let's see the comments. Let's see your responses. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters.